Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Talking Point. This is WESN, and here we once again are having the most important conversations of the day. Now, I know that the situation with regards to our contributor, Karen Shishera, is going to be a hot topic issue. We will hopefully have her tomorrow, depending on when she is available. However, today, hopefully, we're going to go into the topic with regards to cybercrime. We touched on it 2 days ago. We were supposed to talk about it yesterday. However, today, hopefully, we'll have someone, a bit of an expert, who can not only explain to us from a technical perspective on cybercrime, but also give us a little bit of factual data on how things are going, beyond just anecdotal things that Keaton and I might have heard. Now, of course, speaking of my co-host, he is sitting alongside me. Don't be afraid, ladies and gentlemen. Normally, when I open the show, that's a bad sign. But not today. He is here. Good morning, Keaton.
Good morning, Sean. Thank you very much. I am still kind of laughing this morning. We had
just part of the TV magic, folks. Don't tell them anything.
It's just part of the magic, which is why I could not open the show this morning. But it's always good for Sean to also take over that mantle sometimes. But thank you very much, Sean. And ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the program. Now, as mentioned by my co-host, later on in the program, we will have a discussion related to cybercrime. There's a lot to get into and a lot to unpack because we have some statistics to share with you as well. However, in the meantime, there are a couple of topics that we need to touch on. First of all, it's a topic that I must admit, for the most part, we've ignored over the last couple of weeks. And that is in relation to copper theft in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, there have been roughly 3 instances for the year thus far in which individuals have lost their lives by climbing poles in order to try and cut copper cables. Now, the most recent was roughly 2 weeks ago, Sean, just after... It was either during or just after the Easter holidays. Things have taken a bit of a twist because here in Trinidad, we have something known as the Scrap Iron Dealers Association. And in the last few months, they've become more and more prominent, mostly because of their plea to the government to sell them scrap iron that is at the Petron refinery grounds. Now, this time, it's because of the copper theft. The Scrap Iron Dealers Association is blaming TSTT, stating that they actually wrote to TSTT to find a way that they can access copper wire because of TSTT's zero copper wire throughout Trinidad and Tobago. That's something that they initiated in 2018, in which no services will utilize copper wire. We're moving to fiber optics. However, the Scrap Iron Dealers Association also indicated that they would work with TSTT. Not that they want anything from TSTT, not even money, but that they were willing to pay TSTT in US dollars. Interesting that they are able to actually access US dollars at this time, or enough US dollars to pay TSTT. However, the Scrap Iron Dealers Association President Alan Ferguson stated yesterday, or should I say the day before, that TSTT is yet to respond to the association. However, TSTT released a comment indicating that, well, we have a proper procurement and disposal act and guidelines by which we follow. And at no point are we going to compromise any of those guidelines in order to facilitate another body and entity. Now, I'm paraphrasing there. That's not the exact words from TSTT, but that's more or less what they said. Now, that actually did not give any sort of response in relation to the claims made by the Scrap Iron Dealers Association. However, there is one interesting bit of this, of which I'm now going to quote from you. From Mr. Alan Ferguson, he says, "I'm putting all the blame on TSTT today, and our association is not taking no blame for nobody climbing up no pole to steal TSTT wire. I'm not going to put my organization in any position to take that blame." He says that the number of illegal scrap iron dealers are growing. If they had met with us, be it TSTT, we would have shown them that what we could do to stop theft immediately. Now, that's a bit difficult because as much as you are trying to work with TSTT to actually get the copper wire, it's going to be very difficult to actually stop thieves, because as we've seen, thieves come in the middle of the night, they cut the wires. So how is it you're going to stop that? Because he hasn't even released any information on that. My question, though, is that you're not putting any blame on the association for the theft. In other words, you're not putting blame for anybody climbing up the pole and stealing the wire. But Sean, is any member of the Scrap Iron Dealers Association purchasing stolen copper? Are they purchasing stolen copper and then selling it off? Or for that fact, are they purchasing any sort of scrap iron? Now, I use scrap iron because there have been instances throughout Trinidad and Tobago in which manhole covers on the roadways have suddenly disappeared. Most recently, one here on Gattaca Street was gone, and for a couple of weeks, we had a massive barrel in the middle of the road trying to cover the hole. So you're not blaming any member of the association. But Mr. Alan Ferguson, I'm asking you, is any member of your association purchasing stolen property and then selling it off? And that's the interesting twist in this entire thing, because he did not address that yesterday, Sean.
I mean, therein lies the problem. When you have a crime, you have to figure out, okay, how do the criminals make money? What is the process that they undertake? And then try to disrupt that in some way, right? So that's why money laundering, there's laws against money laundering, there's laws against trying to deal with stolen property, etc., etc. If somebody stole the Mona Lisa tomorrow, it's not like they could just go to some art studio and sell the Mona Lisa, right? That's obvious to everybody. So what's obvious is you have copper wire. This is not something that, just there's a store that buys copper wire, used copper wire on every other block in Port of Spain or San Fernando or anything like that. And this is not even to say small copper wiring that you use in your house. Small copper wiring that you might use to hook up a light bulb in a garage or something like that. These are, I would assume to be, because I haven't necessarily seen it, right? But significantly larger lines, much more expensive, much more valuable. Fencing them is not going to be a simple thing. And as far as I am aware, the only people who could more or less give you money for something like that is TSCT and the scrap iron dealers. And I'm very certain TSCT will know, hey, this is our wire, because we're more or less the only ones that have this wire. I mean, there's us and TNTech. I'm not sure if they will be using the same material, right? So, yeah, Mr. Ferguson needs to do better than that. He can't just say it's TSCT's fault. That's nice, but I mean, when politicians do that, we don't necessarily accept it. Why are we going to accept that in this case? Because at the end of the day, it's not TSTT's employees who are stealing, as far as I'm aware, who are taking the copper wire illegally. So, this is just one more thing. Again, people are desperate because of the times. So whereas you might have had people stealing copper wire and it was a bit on the down low and not as frequent, now what are we hearing? People getting electrocuted trying to steal wire.
No.
Like how serious is this when you're going to take that level of risk? You're not entirely sure which cable you're cutting into or what it is you're doing.
No.
This is we're probably gonna see more of this.
He went on to state that, and this is a very, very strong quote on Mr. Ferguson's part. So I'm putting all these people that got killed on TSTT. You're absolutely idiotic for making such a statement. I mean, as president of an association, I'm rather disappointed that you would come out and make a comment like that. As much as you have your rift with TSTT because they have not responded to the association, and because you're claiming that the association is hurting because of this, to make a comment like that is ridiculous. It's not TSTT's fault that an individual will climb up a pole and go and cut wire and unfortunately get electrocuted for their own stupidity. They had an offer to remove all these wires, and we decided we are not going to take the blame. The media keeps saying it's scrap dealers, but scrap dealers don't go out and do these things. It's regular people coming off the street looking for a little change. Is the scrap iron
Where do
dealers
they get the
giving...
change?
Exactly, is the scrap iron dealers giving these people the change that they so desire? So as much as you're calling for legislation to regulate and regularize the sale and purchasing of scrap iron, and you're calling on the Minister of Public Utilities, Marvin Gonzalez, to do that, at the same time, Mr. Ferguson, you're taking it a step too far, sir. The police, according to TSTT, the police have arrested 161 individuals for copper theft since 2018. So since 2018, where has all that copper gone if people are looking for a little change? So as much as I understand that the association is needed to fight on behalf of scrap iron dealers and workers, and the association plays a role, Mr. Ferguson, you are really, really taking it a step too far, and I think you're missing the point of this entire thing. You're coming out and trying to defend the association, but blindly, simply because you fail to understand and you fail to actually answer the points that many in the media have been making, and I made it this morning as well. Who is purchasing this stolen copper? Where are they getting their change from? You said you're not blaming any member of the association. Is any member of the association taking part in this? Because did you know it is a crime, sir? Did you know that it's a crime to purchase stolen property? And then you're saying that it's on TSTT for these deaths? That's a new law, sir. I'm sorry. And I get very, very upset when people come and they're trying to preach and they're trying to protest, but they talk absolute nonsense, in my opinion. At least that's my opinion.
So I mean, TSTT is willing to say rogue scrap iron dealers, right? Unless I am missing something, they're not necessarily looking to throw the association completely under the bus. But at the same time, how do I put this? If there's any insinuation, but look, are the Scrap Iron Dealers Association, are they really trying to help this situation? I understand you communicated with TSTT. But if your communication with TSTT is to say, we could help you through a business transaction, then it might be a good idea, right? Yes, there are times when win-win for everybody is the best solution. But at the same time, if TSTT is looking at the proposal and saying, so you want to help us with theft by becoming the official purchaser and dealer of the scrap iron which is being stolen, of the copper wire. That does seem, a little bit, I could understand if the management of TSTT is not necessarily looking at that proposal as saying, I don't know if that's really going to solve our problem. And more importantly, I don't know if I want to deal with somebody who is potentially looking to profit off of this situation. Because that's what it says. That's what it says. Look, it's not that I offered TSTT a solution. It's that I offered TSTT a business proposal. Could be legitimate. I understand that. But to some extent, if TSTT is suspecting some scrap iron dealers participating in this, why? I think it's reasonable that they would then look at the association and wonder to what extent is the association involved. And instead of trying to deal with the problem directly of saying, look, we're going to put rules in place, we're going to cut off access, we're going to name names, provide evidence if necessary. But that's not being done.
But he mentioned that the number of scrap iron dealers or rogue scrap iron dealers is growing. And I'm wondering, in his eyes, what's the definition of an illegal scrap iron dealer? And if he knows any illegal scrap iron dealer.
You would think, beyond the proposal to sell the copper, wouldn't it be in the association's interest to shut these rogue operators down?
And that's exactly what I'm getting to. Because if you know that there are a number of illegal scrap iron dealers, which we would assume it does not fall under the purview of your association, whether or not you would actually be reporting to shut them down, because you're blaming TSTT saying that they're hurting from this, but at the same time, wouldn't members of your association be hurting from illegal scrap iron dealers? Because you've made that comment, which tells me that you are aware, or at least you know, who these illegal scrap iron dealers are. So what has the association done? In fact, has the association even made reports to the TTPS? It's a whole other story in relation to whether or not the TTPS does anything, but has the association officially made these reports? All of that solidifies and concretizes your argument. But right now it's rather shallow, at least in the direction you've decided to take it. So, my advice to you, sir, is, everybody right now is trying to survive. Everybody's trying to earn a living, but we only hope it's an honest living. And if any member of your association is purchasing stolen copper and wire, or any stolen scrap iron for a matter of fact, well, whatever you call scrap iron, because manhole covers on the street cannot necessarily be deemed scrap if they're actually working and doing something serving a purpose. But my advice to you is ensure that it's an honest living, and ensure that all your members are working honestly before coming out to say that we're not putting the blame on any member of the organization or the association.
It's an unfortunate trend, and I don't know, maybe other people are different, but to me, I just think it's quicker, more efficient to own up to whatever it is you either did wrong or did not do that could have prevented something that did wrong, as opposed to just trying to shift blame and blame the other, whoever the other is, the other side, the other party, the other business, the other neighbor, the other brother. There's always blame the other. Well, okay, fine, yes, but at the end of the day, what about yourself? The responsibility of the situation. You have an association for an industry that is in peril. Where is the agency to deal with it with an all-encompassing strategy, as opposed to just, a business decision? I understand, yes, you think this is the most efficient solution, but something like this cannot just be done in such an informal manner. Because first of all, I don't even know what the process would be for TSTT with regards to bidding on contracts and the procedures of getting that contract done. So to say that, you're putting all the blame on them because they didn't fast track your proposal, is that really even fair?
But I'll tell you what, sir, also, I think in the interest of the association that the recommendations that you all have put forward in relation to how you plan to stop people from stealing copper or scrap iron, I think you should make that public. If you wrote to TSTT and you're stating that you haven't gotten a response from them as yet, it is now time that if you're being honest with us, step up and now make public those recommendations. I don't think there'll be any harm at all in making public those recommendations. And curiously, what is the reason for TSTT not responding? Because I'm also wondering why TSTT has not responded. Because TSTT actually responded to your claims that it's all their fault. But they did not actually acknowledge the letter. So all that we must consider as well. Anyway, folks, let's take a break here on the program. When we return, we will speak about cybercrime this morning. Stay tuned to Talking Point.
North Coast Jazz 2022. Day 2, Event 2. The big day is Family Saturday. And the biggest stars are performing on festival grounds. Michelle Sylvester, Ruel Lynch, Patrick Gordon, Adam Hagley featuring Tony Paul, Leandra Head, Johan Chuckery, Sharon Phillips, Freetown Collective, powered by festival band Dean Williams and Company. Each master talent will perform a song from Lord Nelson's wide catalogue. Saturday, Family, May 28th. Together again. Festival Grounds, Blanchisseurs. Family, a tribute to Lord Nelson. North Coast Jazz and Heritage Festival 2022. 3 days, 3 events, 3 experiences. Born here, played here.
Get your tickets now at Crosby St. James, Extra Foods Arima, Sangre Grande, Grand Bazaar, Endeavour and Chaguanas, Digicel Trend City and C3 Malls, and Digicel Head Office, 11C Maraval, WESN, 38 Gattaca Street, Woodbrook, Suntix.com, or call our ticket hotline at 628-5835 or 681-1516.
Tune in to WESN Content Capital from May 5th to 13th as we bring you exclusive coverage of the TTCB's T20 Festival. 8 teams will face off at the Cricket Centre in Balmain, Couva. Follow us for the live action only on WESN Content Capital, your home for cricket. Gift giving during a lockdown can still be hassle-free with a gift from FanZone with delivery options available nationwide. Visit and browse our Facebook and Instagram pages for all your official licensed merchandise and apparel and have it delivered to your door. Find us on Facebook and Instagram. FanZone, we've got you covered.
If you live with someone who's tested positive for COVID-19 and has to self-isolate at home, take care of them from a distance and reduce their movement around the house. Give them space, a designated space, and open those windows. If you have to be in contact, mask up, both of you. If you work, stay home from work and don't go out, not even to the grocery or pharmacy. And remember, no visitors allowed. Limit the contact to limit the spread.
The Trinidad and Tobago Red Cross Society. Mission-based, people-focused, community-driven.
Modern society is plagued by many threats. In recent years, we've seen terrorism based on religion, but now we're seeing a new threat. And maybe it's not so new, but Trinidad and Tobago has now come at the forefront. The Ministry of National Security has released information stating that there's been a sharp increase in cybercrime activity. Now, Massey Stores was the most recent to be affected by this. And a couple months ago, even a couple months back, the group of companies, Anson McCall, was also affected by this. Now, it is the biggest threat to small, medium, and large businesses. PwC did a survey of over 1,200 businesses, which they indicated that 46% reported some form of cybercrime affecting their business. Roughly every second, US $190,000 is lost due to cybercrime, which amounts to roughly $16.4 billion a day. And that is an issue for Trinidad and Tobago as we move into the age of computerization or digitization, because we're still paper-based. And that is the goal. This morning, we're seeking to get a better understanding of where we are at and what we should do, what we need to do in order to ensure that we are safe and protected from cyber criminal activity. Because, again, this also affects national security. Joining us this morning on the line, he's with us via telephone this morning, is the strategic security expert and former head of the National Operations Center, Commander Garvin Hero. Good morning, Commander, and welcome to the program.
Hi, morning to the team and morning to those of our listeners who are streaming online and tuning in to this very informative program this morning. Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Good morning, sir. Well, thank you very much for joining us. And I'd like to start off the discussion, sir, with what we've been experiencing and seeing recently. Does that emphasize that we are far behind in terms of protection against cyber criminal activity and cyber attacks? And exactly where are we heading? Because I know that there is legislation that is yet to be read and enacted. But at this particular point in time, is it that now we're seeing a new threat to national security looming and we are unprepared?
Well, definitely. I think you would have alluded to it. It's like a two-part. It's one question in two parts, basically, and it's really the awareness. What is our present situation? So our situational awareness regarding cyber activity, inclusive of cybersecurity, and of course, as we would have had in our discussions, the cyber crime or criminal activity affiliated to that. Now, I don't think that we are far behind. What is happening is that what we're seeing more prevalent now, more on the surface, is that, wait a minute, there is a lot of activity outside there now in cyberspace, and there's also a legitimate area of criminal activity that is also making its mark in cyberspace. Just as you rightfully said, we are shifting and transforming into digitization. You're seeing a lot of more online type of transactions and business, Zooms and conducting normal run-of-the-mill routine stuff being done in cyberspace, and that is the new trend, that's the new era, that is the whole new environment. Yes, the act is on the table, and that's a good thing, and I think the government and the decision makers are to be applauded by at least trying to instill and to push and to ensure that we could have this act. Enforcement regarding criminal activity is what also needs to be given some specific attention, because having the act is one thing. Enforcing when we go wrong or when someone is held culpable is also another aspect of it, and that brings into the closing part of your question, because it is in fact a new trend, as we can see, and can it be a national security threat? Outside of that is our law enforcement entities, our agencies, also equipped with the investigative protocols, the acumen to treat with cybercrime and criminal cyber activity. So those are some of the concerns that we must face now in country.
Well, Commander Hira, one of the unfortunate things with situations with regards to cybercrime is always the stories of people who are unaware, and you mentioned awareness. So I guess the first question I want to ask you is a lack of awareness, an ignorance to just how the internet and how cyber criminals are seeking to exploit. It could be exploit a program, but it could also be to exploit you, the individual, depending on what it is you might be aware of, might not be aware of, or what sort of a lack of best practice you do with regards to your cybersecurity. Is that lack of awareness the main vulnerability that we need to address, would you say?
I'm thankful that you would have asked that question, and as I said in my opening, I would really like to applaud your media house for raising the conversation, because it is one that is timely and is one that is critical. Lack of awareness is really what we'll call one of the concerns. It goes also, it's like connecting the dots. So let's say lack of awareness, which as was brought on the question, yes. It's the dot that is connected to is that other dot of negligence. And then there's the main dot that we connect to, which is complacency. And what we are seeing really is that whole aspect of maybe lack of education. So the same way that we are pushing with the act and looking at some of the things that are happening with the supermarket chain, it happened in Parliament a couple of years ago in some corporate sectors, the banking sector, we now have to ensure that there is no lack of awareness and that we are more educated in what is taking place in that domain, because that negligence and complacency adds towards vulnerabilities. And I would draw reference to a scenario. If we were to think in an old school setting, I am a burglar and I want to burglarize some residences in a neighborhood. The old school approach by this burglar, by this criminal, is to walk the area, stake out the area, conduct surveillance to see who's leaving their windows open, what type of burglar proof or no burglar proof that I have. Is my gate locked? Is there a lock or no lock? Does this resident, for instance, have dogs? Or what time do they leave? What time do they come back? What is their vigilance like? And when I have conducted that thorough analysis, I wait for an appropriate time to strike. Having said that, we take it into the computer world. we take it into cyberspace, we take it into this whole new domain that we are discussing. And there we have the same criminality, but a different tradecraft, staking out your systems, staking out your cyberspaces, staking out your organization, looking for the open windows, looking for the unlocked gates, looking to see what type of wealth is being portrayed, and waiting on the right time to breach. And therefore, that sort of awareness of the possibility of someone getting into my space, getting into my private property, getting into my system, getting into my finances, getting into my organization must be a front burner. So therefore, the awareness needs to be prioritized, and amongst many and all organizations, push on the educational aspect, because the human factor of operating these systems are sometimes the main cause why people are breached, or why systems are breached, or why organizations are compromised.
Well, the human factor, I think that's an interesting point, because you pointed out complacency, not just a lack of awareness, but complacency and negligence. I think at our workplaces, generally speaking, if we see a potential breach of security, we might be quick to point it out. We might not deal with it ourselves, but we won't just necessarily ignore somebody breaching a secure area at our workplace. I mean, something as simple as if you're in a sandwich shop, you're not going to let the average Joe public just come behind the counter and open the register. But with regards to cybercrime, I think the lack of awareness, the negligence, the complacency with regards to passwords, how you formulate it, with regards to what emails you answer, what links you click on, with regards to how you deal with your communications, what devices you plug into. So I do have to ask now, some of our people might not necessarily, some of our viewers and listeners might not even necessarily understand just what is a mistake that they're making. Could you maybe give us some examples locally of some of the more popular or more reoccurring cybercrimes? Because cybercrime is a very broad topic. It encompasses a lot of various things, but perhaps maybe there are a couple of trends that you've noticed that you could maybe point out so people could be more aware or know what to look out for.
Yeah, sure. I'll be happy to do that. And as I said, it is very important also if you look at the press release by the Ministry of National Security. In all fairness, they gave the examples of the internet phishing. They gave the examples of the ransomware, and they also gave websites that you could connect with in the event that you're having a problem or you have a concern that you can reach out to, so that the CISA, the Cyber Security Incident Response Team, could advise and respond accordingly. So, I mean, all fairness and applause to that. One of the things, I'll speak about what is happening based on my research team and an observation, and then some of probably the precautions that we can look at. But one of the things that we've picked up, for instance, as I said, is that whole behavior issue, where we are on our company's laptop and devices, whether we're working from home or we're at the office, but right next to it is our personal laptop or our smartphones, and we are carrying on with a behavior in our private devices, our personal devices, and cross-fertilizing that attitude and behavior into our job spaces and official laptops and devices. Yes, there may be some firewalls. Yes, there may be some restrictions, and we have protections regarding using the company's laptop and those types of stuff. But the attitude and behavior of many employees on their personal devices and items, 5 or 6 inches away from their main company computers and laptops and desktops, carries with it that aspect of negligence, and therefore you entertain certain types of attitudes and behaviors even on the company laptop. So therefore, therein is where you leave doors ajar, you leave windows open where things can happen. Now, more importantly, sometimes, and let's go back to an old school situation. If you come home and your house is broken into and your personal items are strewn all over the floor, even your closets where you have your intimate apparel have been dug into, and everything is ransacked, but nothing is stolen. You walk around the home and you realize, wait a minute, they've been through this house, they've taken out everything, they've scattered it all over the place, but nothing is stolen. Okay, I haven't lost any property, but there's a psychological effect that your personal space was invaded. There's a psycho-emotional effect that you have been intruded. There have been an intrusion. And you have to go through months and months of therapy and questioning and counseling before you could be calmed and contained based on the experience of recognizing my residence and my personal space was intruded and invaded. So therefore, one of the common criminal activities in cyberspace is when that same sort of activity takes place, where your personal space now becomes intruded, where your personal space has been invaded. And when that happens, you are faced with some sort of threat from the criminal identifying, I can get into you, I can get into your personal spaces, and I can do harm. I can do more unless on a known account, you can wire money or you pay me just to keep me at bay. That is happening at a large scale in organizations who, because of their brand management and the protection of their own image, they are not putting that out in the public domain. That is happening in private personal spaces where people and family have paid money in order to not be invaded and intruded, or where personal situations does not reach out in the public domain and bring shame and embarrassment to a family or to a name or to a business place. That is the most common activity that is being picked up right now. Invasion and intrusion of personal spaces with the threat of doing more harm. I can show you how far I can reach. I can do more unless you pay me to stay back. That is one of the key issues that is taking place.
Well, Commander Garvin here, there's a lot more to discuss, and we're just going to take a quick break here on the program. So we're going to ask you to stay with us on the line. When we return, we continue that discussion this morning. A strategic security expert, Commander Garvin here, is with us. We're talking about cybersecurity this morning and cyber criminal activity. When we return, we'll continue the conversation. Stay tuned.
There's a taste in the air everywhere. Feel the vibe, 'cause it's something to share. Smooth, rich and creamy, you'll find it right here. Makes you smile, relax a while, it's fun and good cheer. Ooh, enjoy every scoop. Ooh, every taste will get you hooked. We have flavors that you love, a combination special. Come along, enjoy your treats. This is Uncle Pete's.
Gift giving during a lockdown can still be hassle-free with a gift from FanZone with delivery options available nationwide. Visit and browse our Facebook and Instagram pages for all your official licensed merchandise and apparel and have it delivered to your door. Find us on Facebook and Instagram. FanZone, we've got you covered.
North Coast Jazz 2022. Day 2, Event 2. The big day is Family Saturday. And the biggest stars are performing on festival grounds. Michelle Sylvester, Ruel Lynch, Patrick Gordon, Adam Hagley featuring Tony Paul, Leandra Head, Johan Chuckery, Sharon Phillips, Freetown Collective, powered by festival band Dean Williams and Company. Each master talent will perform a song from Lord Nelson's wide catalogue. Saturday, Family, May 28th. Together again. Festival grounds, Blanchisseurs. Family, a tribute to Lord Nelson. North Coast Jazz and Heritage Festival 2022. 3 days, 3 events, 3 experiences. Born here, played here.
Get your tickets now at Crosby St. James, Extra Foods Arima, Sangre Grande, Grand Bazaar, Endeavour and Chaguanas, Digicel Trend City and C3 Malls, and Digicel Head Office, 11C Maraval, WESN, 38 Gattaca Street, Woodbrook, Suntix.com, or call our ticket hotline at 628-5835 or 681-1516.
Welcome back to Talking Point. Strategic security expert Commander Garvin here is with us on the line as we continue the conversations associated with cybercrime and cybersecurity. Commander Hero, thank you very much for sticking with us thus far as we continue the dialogue. And as you were mentioning before we paused for that break, in relation to personal security and personal space being infiltrated, what we've seen recently in terms of corporate Trinidad and Tobago has not only affected business, but affected clients and consumers as well. Now, based off of your research, or at least the information that you would have, is enough being done by corporate Trinidad and Tobago, not only in terms of to protect their employees, clients, and consumers, but generally the company, whether it be in terms of investing, to ensure that their infrastructure, their security infrastructure is up to date, or even in terms of upgrading and updating software? Is corporate Trinidad and Tobago taking a responsible role in investing money where it is necessary to protect themselves, their assets, their clients, consumers, and employees?
I think what has happened is that a number of flags would have been raised. A number of issues that were on the back burner have been pushed now to the front burner when we saw what has taken place within the last couple of weeks with some of the major corporate players in country. And, you know, there was a complacency and an attitude and a belief that, you know what, cyber attacks and cyber crime, that's for out there, that's for big countries. That will not happen here in Trinidad and Tobago, at least not to the extent that we see out there. Failing to recognize that we live in a global village, and just by the press of a button, we are connected technologically with the world, and we are transforming, transactioning, involving ourselves, making decisions in a global space. So therefore, that was a wrong feeling. It was a wrong belief system, and now we are saying, wait a minute, this thing has reached home. So I don't think enough is being done. I think now, however, we are going to see a lot more attention being paid by large-scale organizations, especially for cyber awareness and cyber security. There's an old belief system regarding security. Now, if I have my organization and I have my perimeter, I can be comfortable, which is what we saw taking place, a comfort zone. I can be comfortable that I have my cameras up and my lights so that I know my perimeter is secured. But you want to go a lot further. Some organizations do, some don't. And you know what I want? I want my security officers to walk my fence, do fence walking, and ensure that what we're seeing on the camera or in the lights is what we actually have existing. Look for holes, look for breaches, look to see if perpetrators have been trying to get into my compound and have left evidence that is the crime that is being attempted. So you walk your fence. And in the cyber awareness, cyber security, that sort of cyber prevention attitude, you have to start walking your fences. You have to start looking to see exactly what is taking place within the perimeter of the walls that I have put up to ensure that no one is attempting to breach or boring very small holes that will eventually be a big enough hole for someone to get through. What I'm leading to is that what we will need to see and should be seeing, and hopefully we will start seeing soon amongst key organizations, is that they begin conducting RTVAs, risk, threat, and vulnerability assessments in their cyber awareness to ensure that there are meticulous checks being made throughout your system and the ability with solutions to treat with any issues that would pop up. Not just locating where there might be vulnerabilities and not dealing with it, but locating where there might be vulnerabilities in our cyberspace and have solutions, ready solutions to treat with it. Patch management, as I would have done in my research and article for the talk points, patch management is a key, consistent way of ensuring that your system is always sanitized. You're always cleaning. If you look at the COVID-19 attitudes and behavior, you're always cleaning, you're always wiping, you're always sanitizing to ensure that no bugs or germs are left there to turn into something that can become a threat. So patch management is also a very good approach to ensuring that your system is always protected. And it's a consistent attitude and approach and application by your cyber team. So another aspect regarding large-scale organizations is to start establishing cybersecurity teams in your organization, not just a good ICT department, but within your ICT department, there must be a specialism for cybersecurity now. That is a different angle of ICT. ICT technology and all of your different setting ups and your networks, good to go. Good to go. Ensure that the internet is working and we're passing information. Very good. But inside of that, there must always be a specialist team for cybersecurity within your organization, and have a constant education amongst your organization so that people are kept abreast on the trends and what are also some of the signs and symptoms that can be detected early to prevent your organization from becoming compromised.
Well, sir, everything that you just mentioned, it also ties back into cyber criminals always being one step ahead. They're always upping their game. And it seems that we need to now take over and be one step ahead of them. Everything you just mentioned, does that give the opportunity, allow us to perhaps break the attack patterns? Once we start breaking the attack patterns, we're better prepared for what possibly is to come.
Correct. And breaking the attack pattern is not talking the talk. It is walking the walk. And I applaud you for that point, because it's breaking the attack pattern. However, we have to understand, and this is one of the key aspects that identify sometimes our weaknesses. This is where we limp sometimes. We are dealing with a smarter, more technologically driven criminal, one who is, as you're rightfully saying, always ahead of the game, one who is constantly doing his research, who decides, you know what, I'm very skilled, I can do a lot of stuff here, but I just don't want to have a legal job. I want to do an illegal job. It's fast money. And many aspects of transnational organized crime, which could probably be a whole new conversation, have now started recruiting these top-level ICT professionals to move money, to conduct fraudulent activity online, to prepare documents, to have legitimate sort of identifications and that type of stuff. That's a whole department within transnational organized crime. We are very skilled IT people are being recruited for criminal activity. With all apologies, I have to unplug at this time on the interview because of another meeting that is pressing upon me. And I'm going to say thank you very much to you and to the Media House for the conversation, and make myself available anytime after for a round two of this discussion.
Sure.
Thank you very much, Commander Govin here. It was a pleasure having you on to have this discussion. And yes, we will be in touch. As you mentioned, one step ahead of the game, and I'm sure we'll have to continue the conversation very soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commander.
The last point that he mentioned in relation to fraudulent activity and the transaction of money, that in itself is one of the reasons or the arguments that we're moving more so now to cryptocurrency, because even a government has indicated that we are now looking at cryptocurrency and the possibility of making Trinidad and Tobago a Bitcoin mining hub.
Yeah, but I mean, so at the end of the day though, with regards to security, what is the difference between cryptocurrency and electronic information of your bank account? And to some extent, yes, those are very different things, ladies and gentlemen. But to some extent, with regards to being a target, I think there are a lot of similarities there. And we won't necessarily have too many safeguards in there with regards to just shifting to cryptocurrency. Now, maybe cryptocurrency will have unique markers that will make it more difficult for people to fence it, and it will be less like a figure, whereas electronic money is essentially just information of I have X amount of money. And maybe these things will be a bit more like hard currency online. That is essentially what it is trying to be. But I remember in just following this topic, there was an incident in Miami where a person essentially, he did not steal money. He did not steal money out of bank accounts. He stole credit card information from various major businesses and commercial entities to the tune of millions of credit cards that he had available to him with which to then essentially withdraw money illegally. Now, eventually he was caught, not because law enforcement was necessarily smarter than him, but because they effectively use the full weight and resources of numerous agents, numerous IT experts to eventually track him down, because the breach that he caused and the theft, the scale of it, this is not just a guy that took $5,000. This is a guy that had multiple credit cards at one time to take $10,000 a pop multiple times in just one day. And he's not using even a fraction of the amount of stolen credit card information in any one thing. He literally, physically could not have stolen money from all of the cards that he had information for, because he stole so much information. And that's just one example with regards to how difficult it is, because what he did was he captured the information, I believe, as wireless transactions were being processed.
And I think very quickly too, we have not much time before we shift to News on the Hour, but in this entire discussion, one of the other aspects, we have focused on corporate Trinidad and Tobago, and we focused quite a bit on one's own practice of security.
Yes.
Yeah? So let's take a look now of it from a national security standpoint, because as we moved to the digital age, and this is something that we touched on yesterday with the professor, and computerization, so on and so forth, the Cybercrime Bill, the Cybercrime Act of 2017, was first read in the House of Representatives, I believe, on May 5th, 2017. And the first reading took place on May 9th in the Senate. And still, it's sitting there. It has not made any sort of progress. And that in itself needs to be implemented, because it will make cyber criminal activity, you can prosecute based off of that. At this point in time, you prosecute based off of fraud, but not necessarily based off of cybercrime. And that in itself is an issue. So as we move to digitize, as we move into the age of computers, because as mentioned by the commander, we're not necessarily far behind, but we are behind. Certain things like that act and that bill need to be reviewed, needs to be read and debated and enacted. Because at this point in time, we have left ourselves vulnerable. And as with always national security, there still seems to be some holes in the fence.
But it still goes back to me. Also note what he said. People need to understand it's not just local criminals, but international criminals. At the end of the day, look, you could look up the Prince Nigeria scam or the sweepstakes scam. Basically, someone just fishing, as Commander said, for information. They will message you. They will say, listen, I could get you more money, but you have to send me some money first. Give you a story. Depending on how believable you think they are, how credible, they don't need to be the best of actors and the best of liars. They don't need to fool everybody. They just need to fool a few people.
Does that also tie in very much to the online love scandals that we're seeing?
Exactly, the online love scandals.
Where you can actually protect yourself.
I need help. Could you help me? I'm in some trouble. I need some money. You seem like a trustworthy person. As I said before, I almost got scammed twice. But those, I believe, are internationals. From various countries, our national security apparatus might not easily be able to go after them, only through international treaties. That also means that if it can happen on individuals, yes, we went over with the commander about large companies, but small businesses also have to be mindful of these things as well, because not every criminal is looking to get $10 million. They might just need to try to hit up several businesses for $5,000 a day.
Well,
$5,000 here, $5,000 there.
Any single business at all, because we're even seeing card scamming, which falls under cybercrime as well. Card skimming as well, in which they're stealing the information from your card. In fact, they're putting little devices into ATMs and across various machines, credit card earnings machines as well. So all that is a part of it.
Now, we're not saying leave your money on your mattress and don't trust anything. But you do have to be a bit responsible and careful where you leave your card, where you purchase things, and also how you update your computer, monitor your antivirus, and what email or internet links you click on.
Folks, WSN now breaks for News on the Hour, and when we return, we open up the phone lines and talking point this morning.
A three-day event. Big Screen Friday, Jazz Family Saturday, Sunday Blues. Family. A tribute to Lord Nelson.
All I want for my
Coast Jazz, May 27 to 29. Born here, played here, played here.
Every day, we communicate through stories. Stories of ourselves, our challenges, our goals, our experiences, and our aspirations. Storytelling is an art that we have mastered. WESN Film Studios comprises a collaborative team of experts with extensive industry experience locally, regionally, and internationally. The ability of your business to successfully communicate with your preferred audience depends on the strength of the stories you tell. Your vision should be communicated in a high-quality, professional, and creative way. From concept to post-production, advertising to film, multi-camera productions, live events, streaming, and virtual conferencing, we are WESN Film Studio. Let your own unique voice be heard and your vision realized. Call us today at 628-5835 for your next production.
Seven is out, all day is in. WESN News on the hour.
I am Rondell Donowa, attorney at law and host of Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Strictly Legal is a legal program geared towards informing you, the public, of your legal rights, responsibilities, and remedies. So be viewing Thursdays 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
Burning questions, urgent topics. Welcome back to One on One, the show where we tackle the most current and pertinent subjects that are affecting all citizens, where we ask the hard questions and have in-depth conversations. What separates One on One from other talk shows is that the conversation stems from a younger perspective on topics that affect the fabric of our society. One on One, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. on WESN Content Capital.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Site, Thursdays at 11 a.m. only on WESN Content Capital.
A reminder from WESN. We urge you to protect yourself and others from the spread of COVID-19. Stay safe by taking some simple precautions. Clean your hands often. Use soap and water or an alcohol-based hand rub. Maintain a safe distance from anyone who is coughing or sneezing. Wear a mask. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth. Cover your nose and mouth with your bent elbow or a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Stay at home. If you have a fever, cough, and difficulty breathing, seek medical attention. Following the above can help us all to help each other.
Welcome back to Talking Point here on WESN. Thank you for staying with us. And now, folks, we give you the opportunity to have your opinions expressed and heard. 623-9376, 622-9338. The numbers are on your screen. Good morning, caller from Tobago. Hello, good morning.
How are you this morning?
We're doing well. I hope you're doing well. He's right alongside me.
I wonder what he's doing about the pressure away.
Resting.
Took it this morning and it still hasn't really gone down.
It's about 20 years now. I am a pressure patient, and during that time I've been playing football and all kind of thing, and I don't understand how I'm still a pressure case. Anyway, I was listening to your utterances about this cable, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you have a commodity and it's of no benefit to you, and I offer to buy it, what is the problem why you would be serving?
Mm-hmm. Well, to be fair, I don't know.
That the people who put it up, they could take it down, and I would buy it from you. Then what is the problem? Because that commodity is benefiting the TSTT nothing.
Yes, well, I agree with you that I'm curious, as to why TSTT has not responded.
Well, the only thing is if TSTT have to be the ones to take it down, and maybe they, for whatever reason, don't have the manpower, don't want to spare the manpower to do so.
No, listen to me. The people who put it up, the scrap dealer, tell them they would organize with the people who put it up. And when they take it down, they would buy it from them. Right, so I'm at a loss, except TSTT has somebody else who purchases from them.
Maybe.
Probably.
At a higher price than the scrap dealer.
Mm-hmm. That's a possibility.
Although, thank you, caller.
Thank you very much, caller.
I mean, now we've reached the point of speculating, but I think ultimately, I don't know. Maybe it is that TSTT is looking down on the Scrap Dealers Association. Maybe it is because of what they offered. Maybe they just dismissed them out of hand.
As I mentioned, it will be TSTT responded to the claims that Mr. Ferguson made against them in relation to the reason that people have died, which I think is foolish on the part of Mr. Ferguson.
Yeah, it doesn't help his case.
But at the same time, TSTT should let us know why they have not responded to the letter, whether or not they even received the letter.
So now, isn't it technically both sides are not telling us everything?
But this is why I said Mr. Ferguson needs to make public the recommendations. But we do have a caller on the line with us from Gasperlo. Good morning, caller.
Morning.
Good morning.
I want some advice, fellas.
Mm-hmm.
I want some advice from both of you.
Hopefully we can give it.
Ticketed on Eid for not wearing a seatbelt. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I got the ticket. I came home. So Tuesday when I was about to go and pay the ticket, the incorrect car number was on the ticket and the incorrect manufacturer was on the ticket. They had on the ticket a Toyota. I am driving a Nissan. What should I do?
I think you should go to court to fight that ticket.
I mean, is the ticket even valuable?
I don't think the ticket is even valid, because if it's not your vehicle, and if it's not even the number plate is correct. I mean, the name on the ticket is your name.
Correct.
Right? But the vehicle on the ticket, I think you need to go to court to see about that. I mean, Cole, if you were not wearing your seatbelt, now you know better. You have to wear your seatbelt. It's against the law to not wear your seatbelt. But you were actually charged with that, but they put the wrong information on the ticket.
Sean, what about you?
I mean, so a part of me wants to say that it's an ethical decision with regards to what to do with the fine itself. But I would still advise to go to court and to see about it, because ultimately speaking now, there's a legal document that says you are the owner of this car, and I don't know what other repercussions could come because of it, especially since our system doesn't have a lot of checks and balances. So I would say you would probably still have to go in to sort it out. And
I think you should take a learning lesson from it.
It's a viable option to fight the ticket at the end of the day.
Take a learning lesson.
Why fight the ticket? I broke the law.
Well, I mean,
that's what I said. You need to take a learning lesson from it.
I don't understand why you all are going down that road to fight the ticket. I broke the law.
It's not a matter.
What I did, I went and I paid the ticket. But when I discuss this with lots of my friends, they are all telling me, Kenny, fight the ticket. fight it.
Caller, it's not a. It's not.
I can't understand that.
I agree with you.
At all.
I agree with you that you broke the law, and that is why I said if you broke
Anyhow,
the
to
law.
cut a long story short, I went and I paid the ticket.
Excellent. I respond to your offer. Excellent. Thank you very much. I agree with you. Thank you. I agree with you that you broke the law, and that you really need to take a learning lesson from that. And that's great that you went and you paid the ticket. The point, though, of going to court is not to fight the ticket or to fight the fact that there was any wrongdoing. It's to show that the police are getting it wrong, and the police need to be a lot more efficient in terms of that, because that in itself, people may not think like you, sir, and go and pay the ticket because they broke the law. People will go to court and say, well, you can't prove that I did anything wrong. The point is, at the end of the day, if we want to clean up the situations, you also need, this is all part of police accountability. And in that sense, the police got it wrong as well. So well done to you for paying the ticket. But
when I said fight it, it wasn't necessarily, like Keaton said, to get out of the ticket. But it was to ensure that this ticket with wrong information does not come as part of the record. Now, the judge might have reissued the ticket, reissued the fine with the correct information, or it could be that there was no other way to deal with it. I mean, I'm not sure. I assume it would have been the former, but if you just paid it off, now technically there's a legal document that says you own a car that might not even exist.
We have a caller on the line. That's a good point, actually. We have a caller on the line with us from Port of Spain. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, comrade.
Morning.
Good morning.
I want to raise issue, but first of all, I have to commend you guys for the fact that you are focusing on perhaps the most difficult assignment, but you all are also focusing on the most important thing to Trinidad and Tobago today, which is to say, the spotlighting crime in all its manifestations. I've been following the program for the last couple of days, and that is what I get from it. Mm-hmm. In that regard, yesterday I heard Mr. Small. I wonder sometimes whether he is the former commissioner's publicist, because his defense of the former commissioner and the kudos that he gives to him troubles me, because in more ways than one, I think we need to remember that the new commissioner has just been in the hot seat for a couple months, whereas the former commissioner had a full term of 3+ years. And I am asking you to please review the work of the former commissioner closely. You see the razzle-dazzle and the call Gary and all of that the commissioner used to politicize his office. I want you to think about anybody who was critical of the commissioner's work, not of him, and how he attacked them viciously. Think about Professor Dieu-Saran, for example. I want to say to you that anyone who sought to put the spotlight on things that this former commissioner did, he sought to silence them, publicly humiliate them. But that came to an end when he sought to suggest that he had no boss. And that is when the chairman of the National Security Council and the Prime Minister was forced to say to him, well, you do have a boss. I am the man who employed you. I want to say further that crime is like a virus. Think about the COVID and how it has grown and morphed. Crimes in this country are growing and morphing largely because there is no antidote. There is no vaccine for crime. The only vaccine that we have in our Constitution is the vaccine of going to court after you have been tried based on the evidence that the police or others would have produced, and the matter is heard and logically and rationally based on the law treated. Mm-hmm. Nobody in the numbers, when we check the volume of crime and we check the number of matters that have gone through the court and we check how the courts take a lifetime to pronounce on simple matters, we understand why our crime is morphing, and so we now reach cybercrime. But think about when corruption started in this country. It started with lock joint and the gas station racket and things like that. Today, in those days, they might have stolen hundreds of thousands or millions. Today, these people really stealing billions over the last 15 years. They're stealing billions. And so we have got to understand that crime like COVID has now spread, and what is happening with the gas station, with the Scrap Iron Dealers Association, is just another part of the crime. We are talking only about TSTT and TNTech.
Caller, going
on
after...
On the same lines, forgive me, I'm ending. On the same lines, you have all the cable companies, and they have wires. They hang in front of your property, and you could do nothing about it. I rest my case this morning.
Thank you very
Crime
much.
is morphing.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you. Give Sean an opportunity to respond
after the
shortly,
next call,
but we do have a caller on the line with us from Digger Martin. Good morning, caller.
Hi guys, good morning, thank you. I will try to talk really fast because I would love to make 2 points, please, to get back to the war and the scrap iron tanks. So yesterday was already day 70 of the war, and it's been changing, analysts are trying to actually find a winner, but according to the Institute of War, for the study of war, Russia has now a sounder pattern through eastern Ukraine, and they just want to come all the way down to Crimea. So they're much slower and steadier. But the thing is, May 9th, which is Monday, is the 77th anniversary of Victory Day when the Soviets defeated the Nazis in 1945. So they're thinking he's going to settle for the Donbass in the east because the separatists are already there, declare a preliminary victory, and also declare an all-out official war, which is worse because it then becomes a total mobilization like World War I. The fear with that is that each neighbor there will then mobilize separate forces. They suspect Belarus will go with Russia, and then NATO will be on the other side. Of course, that's a greater conflict, so that's what's expected to happen.
They're also examining the possibility of Hungary as well, although that has been scrapped by Putin.
They've already made up a new country that does not exist to say that they're going to liberate it in Transnistria.
Yeah, exactly. So they will declare some kind of victory, but as they continue to pound Azovstal, the steel plant, where there are 30 children, hundreds more, and they've lied and said that they've created humanitarian passages. On the scrap iron now, that's actually $1 billion industry, with the U.S. exporting $5 billion worth per year. Then Germany. Of course, China is the biggest importer, but in 2021, they were actually going to ban this, which would have been kind of good, but instead they've become stricter, and they require 99.1% purity of their materials like copper, aluminium, iron. Again, this is another environmental health because there's a whole city that's dedicated to with Chinese human beings, of course, in poverty, to extract these materials. So that in itself is a whole massive sad story, which we leave for now. Thanks.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you. We have another caller on the line with us from Chaguanas. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning,
Professor.
You made a statement that the police need to be more efficient. Is there any government agency in Trinidad that would need to be significantly more efficient?
Yes, all of them need to be efficient.
Yep.
All of them need to be
All of
efficient.
them.
Every single one of them.
We do not know, I think the correct way to say it is, we do not know of any government agency that is acting efficient enough that we cannot reasonably say they need to be more efficient.
Right, and your colleague at that webinar in UV gave the reasons that all our government not only appear to be corrupt, but they are corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
And they have deliberately put this country here by all these special purpose companies and whatnot. And I could tell you something, you have tried to get suggestions that will work in such an atmosphere. There is none can work in such an atmosphere. If you want to solve the problems in Trinidad, you have to have good governance. And do you know that even the Parliament of Trinidad don't have a documented position on what is good government? Neither does the University of the West Indies.
Well, that's from an intellectual point, I suppose.
No, if you don't have it there and say what is good government, how you expect people to follow it?
Yeah. No, I understand where you're coming from, Professor. But at the end of the day, not everything needs to be documented in order to be practiced. So sometimes, and I believe this.
You don't think that need to be documented?
No. In terms of
I say
good,
need to be documented.
No. In
You
terms
say
of
it not need to be documented.
in terms of what you're saying in relation to good governance.
Yes.
Sometimes, and I believe this, if a person can have a clean mind, an honest mind, then I believe that good governance could be practiced.
But I think in this case, it might be the case of similar to a company's vision and mission statement. The details get added as you go further and further along the process. So you'll have a statement on what good governance is, but then you'll have regulations apart from that to give you specifics.
Nothing wrong with that. You could keep updating it, but first you have to have it documented.
Yeah.
But Professor, we do need something for standards to determine.
Thank you very much, Professor, for raising that point. We have time for one more caller this morning. I'm sorry for having to rush some other callers, but good morning, caller from Claxton Bay.
Morning, Sean. Morning, Keith.
Morning, Mr. Fisherman.
My take is on the scrap iron dealers.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, I have experience with that because I have a neighbor.
Yes.
Yeah.
A truckload of pallet bone and scrap iron in the back of the house.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Now, the house is the northern side of me. I live on the south side. The little road is dividing us.
Mm-hmm.
But how the east wind is blowing, right now they're affecting me that way, but when the wind changes, that affects. Now I have a sick wife,
Yeah.
But nobody do nothing about that. Even the other neighbors are complaining, and this every day the copper wire is burning.
And maybe this is where the stolen copper wire goes to.
We had the
Possibly.
everybody comes, but nobody they charge nobody. We didn't call the MP and the council. The council said the man had to live. The council said that the man had to live.
That's what the council told you? Mr. Fisherman, by any chance, do you know whether or not this is illegal or legal scrap iron dealer?
Well, the license in his wife's name. The license where they get, she wife went out the road, But the license, they didn't care. With them living out the road, like quarter mile off from me on the main road side. Not doing it there.
I totally get that the man needs to earn a living, but at the same time, tell that councillor to consider everybody else in the area as well.
They will come for election by me, They will come. I'll deal with them.
Perfect.
All right, take care.
Thank you, Mr. Fisherman. Oh Lord, anyway.
That has to be. I mean, it's funny. I take great amusement by it, but also really and truly, if this is official, the official response to, I think someone is committing a crime, and even if it's not illegal, what he's doing is disrupting all of us. Well, he has to live.
What does the EMA stand in burning copper wire in a residential area?
Now, with regards to my praise for former Commissioner Griffith, we do need to put that in context. I, for all intents and purposes, was saying that the former commissioner did a very good job at being a politician in his time in office because he communicated well. But I did also point out we have no results. We have no results for it. Even the best weapons haul that Gary Griffith got in as commissioner, no one was arrested for it. The 2 men that fell off of a chair, that was during his tenure. Now, with regards to the current acting commissioner, who is also deputy commissioner of police, I believe for intelligence, I could be misremembering that. No, we don't grade him on a curve. We don't give him time to settle in any job. We don't have time to settle in. We don't have that luxury.
It's not a matter of time. He was the deputy.
Right? Yes, he's not an outsider coming to a situation needing to get situated. He's the deputy. He should have been well aware of what's going on. He
Anyway.
didn't need a lot of time. But more importantly, crime waits on no man.
Speaking of crime, I just need to get this in very quickly. Because this
Despite the fact that criminals have to live.
This is the extent to which we're going now. Very quickly, police are investigating an incident in which a 54-year-old lotto booth operator was robbed while leaving her Morva workplace on Tuesday afternoon. Police said the woman finished work for the day and got into a taxi around 6:17 p.m. when, very specific timing actually, when a white Nissan AD wagon drove in front of the car, blocking it. Two gunmen got out and approached her as she sat in the front passenger seat and told her not to move. They grabbed her bag and stole her pepper sauce and pens and roughly $50. Morva CID officers visited the scene and are continuing inquiries. Listen, if they catch this gentleman, I think is excellent. Regardless,
I think
the crime is that it's theft. But even thieves are stealing pepper sauce now.
No, I'm pretty sure they thought she would have had a day's take on her.
No, not well then that's stupid. It's a lotto machine. You're gonna have the day's take on you.
People pay in cash. But my point is, you do not drive in front of somebody just as they get off of work with weapons to steal pepper sauce and $50. That's just no. That's. I mean, either way.
That must be some good pepper sauce.
Either way, these criminals scream amateurs, right? Because either they didn't know what the target had, or what they went after was way too small potatoes for the risk they took. And amateur criminals are the dangerous ones. Those are the ones that shoot first.
Lady, I am so sorry that
and
you
ask questions
experienced that. I really am sorry, but that must be some really
I
good
am
pepper
glad
sauce.
that she lived.
Anyway, folks, that's all the time we have for this morning. Thank you very much, Sean Michael Small. Remember, ironic as it may be, today's a good day to have a good day. Talking Point, we'll see you again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.
We all gotta live.